Hey guys, in this video we'll see the latest announcements from Firebase from the Google I/O 23. Some key highlights include extending cloud functions for Python, handle 1000 requests at a time in a single function, Palm API included in the Firebase extensions. Let's dive into it. Firebase developers can now initialize their cloud functions in Python using the latest updated Firebase CLI, and you can call any callable functions from within your code like this. The second gen functions are optimized with concurrency now. Until now, we had to invoke a new function instance, which led to extra startup time and extra cost. With the latest update, we can specify the concurrency parameter according from 1 to 1000. The function with concurrency 1 has instance count 18, which now changes to concurrency 20 with only 2 instances, which ultimately employs faster performance with lower costs. Before you implement this change, listen to this.
Take advantage of the magic of concurrency.
Not so fast, Jeff. Remember that concurrency is about sharing resources on an instance among multiple requests. There isn't a magic formula we can use to determine the concurrency setting that is correct for any app.
In the Firestore, we now have richer query language support. So for instance, the new count operator, which determines the number of documents in a collection, and the pricing is based on number of indexed entries. We can group together multiple OR queries. Firestore also announced the support of event arc triggering, which allows us to access and integrate Firestore data with other systems. Let's see the updates in the feature flags using remote config. Feature flags allow us to reduce risk, launch confidently, and ship faster. And in combination with the remote config, this can turn out to be an important feature.
So you want to put this feature behind a feature flag. To do so, you'll open the Firebase console and go to remote config to create a new parameter called enable recipe difficulty. Give it a description and a default value of false, then save and publish.
And you can use the Firebase Analytics to set this feature available for development users.
Edit the recipe difficulty property and create a new conditional value. Create a condition and call it fire recipe dev team. You'll want it to apply when the user property development user equals true. When the condition is met, set the feature flag's value to true so the team can test the feature.
The speaker also gave tips about how to enable a feature gradually, and if anything goes wrong, we can still use Analytics and Crashlytics for helping monitor releases. We can now build our own Firebase extensions and publish it to the Firebase console via the Firebase CLI. Firebase announced their Palm API extension, Summarize Text, or Chatbot with Palm APIs. This is how these extensions look like. After installing, it asks us to create a collection users with the field as prompt. So this is how it looks like. We have a users collection, we add a document, we save it, and next we need to create a field called as prompt. And let's put a value, for instance, hello, how are you? Let's edit, and after some time, it should give us a response. We see that the response I got was an error occurred while processing the provided message. I found out that there was an error calling the GLM API, which is the Generative Language Model API, and it asks us to enable it from the services. Digging deep, I found out we first have to join a waitlist for Palm API, and that request needs to be approved before the GLM or the Palm API gives us responses. So be sure to join the waitlist. Heading over to Crashlytics, the team announced improved support for Kotlin as well as Swift. The support is now extended to Android Studio Flamingo. Crashlytics announced support for GWP ASON, so you need to enable the attribute in Android as always. Then in the Crashlytics dashboard, you can see the now GWP ASON report. The stack traces now have been improved. Crashes with multiple variants can now be grouped together into one issue. And on the dashboard, you now can see the variants. And on clicking of that, you can see the different type of variants. Under the hood, it's done by improved grouping algorithm with fewer duplicates, meaningful alerts, and more powerful search. Some improvements from the Firebase Android SDK. Now there are faster Android apps with more efficient thread pool and workers. The product initializations are deferred, which allows us to have 3% performance improvements. Firebase Android SDK was written in Java, and these APIs were translating to Kotlin through lightweight Kotlin extensions. The team announced first-class Kotlin support. So the snippet here changes to this now. Dates to app check was announced. The speaker focuses on two things. App check configuration is per app and the enforcement is per service.
Today, we are happy to announce that Firebase AppCheck is now also integrated in Firebase Auth with Identity Platform.
All this available in the latest SDK. The AppCheck also announced the support for C++ and Unity. Firebase announced the support for dynamic frameworks. Firebase Deploy now uses Angular Universal, generates a cloud function, and configures the JSON files as well.
Firebase Hosting now lets you deploy dynamic full-stack web apps to preview channels so you can test your changes before deploying to production.
This is made possible using atomic deployments. The support for React Server Components was announced. Firebase Deploy now allows for internationalization rewrites for Next or Angular websites. So here the speaker mentions two types of strings in two different locales. In the hosting file, the locale for different domain is specified. Firebase Hosting allows us to customize the backend now with properties such as CPU, concurrency. In the hosting file, the speaker mentions the minimum instances and then deploys the application. And as you can see, there are two different domains now. And the result looks like this. So this is the English locale website and this is Spanish local website. The features like this are now also available in Flutter projects. They will be supporting new languages and frameworks and further continue to develop in Next.js, Angular, Nuxt and Vite. Firebase now announced the support for Terraform. And using Terraform, now you can match the dev, staging or production environments. We now have the Terraform resources for projects and etc. Till now, every developer had to initialize two similar projects for staging and production, then enable the Android and Apple apps, and then enable the authentication configurations. But now we can have Terraform files for entire staging and prod projects. To apply the Terraform CLI, we need to do 3 steps. In the init part, we install the Google Beta Provider. In the apply part, the following actions get performed. They ask for a confirmation. And finally, using the Terraform show, you can view the details about the project, for instance, the resources initialized and whatnot. And let's say the Firebase projects continue to evolve. The updates should be as simple as updating your Terraform files.
Those were so many great updates, and I said, these are just the highlights.
For more about all these updates, visit firebase.blog.
That's it from this video, guys, and thanks for watching.